Namaskar. This is Sumit from Metaphysical Bharat. Uh, I have created this particular channel to give a lot of awareness for anybody and everybody who is interested about the metaphysics of Bharat. And India as a country has a rich tradition with respect to philosophy and spirituality. So this channel ascribes and aims for spreading this knowledge. आज हम लोग इस वीडियो में एक फंडामेंटल टेक्स्ट ऑफ अद्वैता वेदांता इज द दृग दृश्य विवेक का बारे में बात करेंगे. And Drig Drishya Viveka is being ascribed to Vidyaranya Swami. Of course, there are a bit of a confusion whether it belongs to or rather written by Adi Shankaracharya or Vidyaranya Swami. But definitely, the text has a very rich, profound philosophical dimension in understanding the ultimate and what is the Brahman is something that we are trying to understand. ये वीडियो काफ़ी शॉर्ट है बिकॉज वेयर वी आर गिविंग द इंट्रोडक्शन and so that it triggers an interest for all the viewers and the audience so that they can go deep into it because nothing can replace contemplative and adhyan of the study of the original text as written by the great gurus and the scholars. So this is a very short video. So let's understand Drig Drishya Vivek क्या है. तो इस पे तीन शब्द है. एक है दृग, एक है दृश्य और एक है विवेक. दृग इज द सीयर, दृश्यम इज द सीन एंड द विवेक इज द डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. कैसे हम लोग एक जो पार्थक है, जो एक डिफरेंशिएशन है, वो कैसे करें. We all know what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong, what is crooked and what is straight. But when it comes to the nick of time, जब करने का समय आता है, to a large extent we slip and we don't understand the profundity. So question is, एक स्मरण और एक स्थिति प्रज्ञा भाव कैसे लेके आए. तो ये जो टेक्स्ट है, लेयर बाय लेयर, बिलीफ बाय बिलीफ, they give us the fundamental core of the reality. So let's understand this word Drig Drishya Vivek. Drig is the seer, and basically we are as a seer. What is a seer? Who is the seer? Is the seer me, or it is mine, or it is something ultimate, or it is Ishwara, or it is God, or it is somebody who is the ultimate, and we are not knowing about it. But generally, in the plain language, the seer is basically the individual that is the self. And but this self itself has so many layers. And Drishyam is something which is seen. And what is seen is from the physical realm. It is the color, it is the object, it is the rupa, it is gandha, it is the sparsha. So we have the gyan indriya, we have the karma indriya, and usse we are trying to understand the outside world, Drishyam. And problem is, how do you differentiate between the Drig and the Drishyam? And between the Drig and the Drishyam, we need something which is an intellect, that is the Vivek. And Vivek to discriminate what exactly is something that I need to negate and what is something that I need to affirm. Vedantic science itself is something which is talking about neti neti. A nahi hai, a nahi hai. This is not, and it is not, and this is not, and it is not. And we do it on a regular basis for anything and everything until we peel off the layer of reality and trying to get into the very crux, the very reality which is irreducible, and that, as per the Upanishad, is the Brahman. So Drig Drishya Vivek is a text, a fundamental tenet, or rather the fundamental text of Advaita Vedanta, which is trying to give layer by layer what exactly is the witnessing component, because in the modern world we are basically getting eluded and rather deluded by the drishyam that is seen. It can be too much of a consumption, it can be the retail, it can be the product, it can be the brand, it can be anything which is beautiful in front of us, or it is basically the objective dimension, whereas the subjective dimension is the seer, and that seer itself is not something which is only about that we see with our eyes, but it is also with the mind. So we see first with the eyes, but if you really question your eyes, then it is a mind which is making the eyes to see. And even if you question the mind, there is something which is the consciousness or chaitanya or a chaitana which is making the mind to be aware, because awareness cannot be objectified. And once we really understand what is this awareness is all about, then we get into something called the being. And being becomes very, very difficult. So when I say Drig Drishya Vivek is basically trying to understand that what is seen is very different from what or who is seeing. And who is seeing is not with the eyes, but with the mind, with the thoughts. And behind the mind and the thoughts, there is an element of a consciousness or the Chaitanya. And this Chaitanya makes the mind to have that faculty, and that mind makes the eyes, which is physical, to really actually see something. So we are trying to discriminate between what is seen and who is the seer. And you can apply this in our daily life. If you get attracted to anything, is it because of the object or is it because of the subject? So there's always a subject-object duality. Does the object influence the subject? Definitely yes. But do the subject have that kind of a penetrating intellect to dissolve the object, so that the object no more remains the object? And what actually remains is you are trying to delayer the object into something fundamental. And actually, if you go deeper and deeper, you will find that there's no difference between the object and the subject, because they all merge and they become one, which is the principle of oneness. Now, this is an introductory video. So it is all about trying to really give you and rather trigger your thought process. Three things I'll talk in this context where to really raise our awareness level from the and becoming an Advaita Vedantist in your daily life. How do you practice Advaita Vedanta in your daily life? So one is we call as a Sakshi, one is Sajakta, another is Tathata. Now Sakshi is basically talking about the witnessing concept, and this witnessing concept is basically that I see something, I am trying to really witness something, I'm a witnessing consciousness. Sajakta is basically I'm Sajak, I'm aware, I'm alert. And I'm alert about what? I'm alert about my mind. I'm alert about my presence. I'm alert about anything which is objective, and anything which is objective that is getting all surrounded. And my objectivity is too much influencing my subjectivity. So I need to be into the state of purity, in a sattvic state. And how do I do that? That is Sajakta. And beyond that is called Tathata, that is called isness of life. Now, how do you really develop this isness of life? That is very, very difficult. It requires a meditative and a contemplative mode to really understand the dimension. And once we accept, once we have the bhakti bhav, and once we surrender, and once we know that the reality is as it is, and we are all just popped up into the dimension of consciousness, and on one day we're all going to pass away, because everything comes and everything goes. And that is the way that we really practice, rather we experience suchness or isness of life. Such is the way of life. Anything happens, such is the way of life. Things happen, such is the way of life. So I conclude, this is a short video. So we are talking about Drig Drishya Viveka. So Drig is to do with where we are the seer, and the seer is not the eyes, it is not the mind, it is basically the witnessing consciousness, which is the Sakshi. Drisya is something which is seen, which is objective. And the question is, how do you really differentiate between the Drig and the Drishyam? And that is through the Vivek. And the Vivek has to be cultivated. It is Adhyan, Chintan, Manthan, Manan. And that is the Tantra, how we develop our own mind and body, through which you are able to penetrate the reality and not get deluded by the external world. Drig Drishya Viveka is a very practical tool, I would say, and it's a great text to get into the Advaita philosophy, but much to get into to get a deeper understanding. Stay tuned. Do watch my videos, do share my videos, do like my videos, and do comment on my videos so that I can come up with more fundamental text of Advaita Vedanta. Om Tat Sat.